Hey, everybody. So excited for an author chat with Deborah Blake. We're going to give her a minute to join us here in the live. And if it is raining by you and windy by you, I hope you're staying safe because it is absolutely not nice out today. Okay, so I see Deborah. So let me get her in here. Hello, Dina. Let's get it going. No, hold on. Now I'm being a dope. Hello. Oh, here you are. No. My fingers, you guys. Okay. So hopefully you'll be able to accept that. Just all things. Okay, now I see you, but you just need to flip your camera because I see your desk.
That's okay. Let's see.
At the bottom of your screen.
Okay.
There you go.
Is that?
Can you?
And I
You
still
see?
don't see
You
you.
don't
That's so
see
weird.
me? Oh my goodness!
I can hear you just fine, and I saw you. Originally.
This is so weird. Okay, I'm going to ask you another question, and that question is: what device are you on, and have you updated with the most recent updates?
I'm on my phone, and I have no idea. My phone just does what it does.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes with Instagram and the app specifically, if you don't have the most recent updates, it could get a little bit persnickety.
yeah.
I
Well,
don't
and
know if we could.
I also have the horrible rain
Yeah.
and the storm that you have, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But if everybody else can see me and you can see me,
Yes, I can see you, and they're saying that they see both of us. So I guess for whatever reason, you're going to be speaking into the void, and I will be a disembodied voice.
Well, wouldn't be my first one.
That's what I figured.
Okay.
So my name is Dina. I'm one of the co-owners of Amityville Apothecary, along with Danielle. And you can't see me, but everybody else can, which is so funny. Um, and I am here. I have the honor and the privilege to be speaking with Deborah Blake, who we have currently in the shop, the Llewellyn Little Book of Witchcraft, which I will explain to you why. I'm also holding it up. I feel like I need to have like a CC going
I
on.
know, it's like, we need a detailed explanation of what both of us are doing. Oh
Yes.
my God. I can't believe I can't see you. That's just so weird.
So weird. And I'm going to ask you some questions about this one in a minute, because I think that, and we love the Little Book series of Llewellyn.
Oh, they're so much
They're
fun. I have a bunch of them myself.
But I think, when I at least look at a book and it's beautiful, but it's little, it's so cute, it's pocket sized, it's fun sized, and I'm still holding it up. You can't see me doing this. There's so much amazing information in here that I think it being called a little book doesn't even give it justice, because it packs an educational punch for its size, and it's so easy to read. So this is your newest release, is that right? Like, I know you have a bunch coming up too, but this is your newest one, right?
Everyone's coming up. I have a few that just came out in the last year or two. Of course, I've got the Oracle deck and the Tarot deck, which have been out for a while. We have a new Oracle deck coming out in March. That one I'm so excited. You'll have to have me back so I can talk about that.
We're so excited about that one as well. And so I guess
this is the newest one. This is the most recent one. And I was really excited to do this because I like little cute books. Sometimes it feels sort of overwhelming to get a bigger book. I mean, not my books are not overwhelming. For anybody who hasn't read my books, everything is very accessible and simple, not dumbed down, which is a whole different
Right.
thing, but just, it's like you're sitting across the table from your friendly neighborhood high priestess and asking her questions and getting simple answers. But yeah, when I had the opportunity to do the little book of witchcraft, I thought this is a great way to sort of sum up, a lot of the basics from all the books that I've done, because, I've written a few.
Yeah, a lot.
And make it a good place for beginners, also a good place for, the folks who have a bunch of my books but don't, they want someplace that sums some things up. I mean, one of the things that I love about this series is the way they organize it. So, there's a list at the beginning of all the activities, and then a list of all the spells, and then a list of a bunch of tips. So, for instance, we're going to, spoiler alert, we're going to do a little spell later. And you could just look it up at the front of the book and go, oh, okay, that's the spell I need.
Yeah.
And then there's all the other information in the book. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to work on, but surprisingly challenging because I had to cram a lot of information into this tiny little book.
Yeah. That's why I was saying it's a little book, but it's a lot of book because there's a lot of information in here. A lot of information. You know, I really I really couldn't quite believe how much information you got in this book. It actually might be a spell of witchcraft that it's like a Harry Potter situation. This is like Mary Poppins' bag.
Yes, it's Mary Poppins' bag in a book.
It
Or
is.
possibly a TARDIS. It's a TARDIS. It's a TARDIS of a book.
It is. There's so much in here. And so we have, you can't see it, I'm holding it up. We have book plates, so they're all signed. And then we also have my most newest favorite is the Eclectic Witch's Book of Shadows, which I'm holding up, which is beautiful and interactive. And we also have the signature plates in here. But
I love this book. Nikki Mueller did the best job with the illustrations. She did the cover, and then she did the illustrations in the book, and they're just amazing. She did a spectacular job. I was so pleased. This was my first hardcover book because, like all my other books, like the Everyday Witches Coven, sort of paperback. So this was my first hardcover, and then I have a second hardcover. So yeah, it was like hardcover bonanza.
I feel that, I was reading a little bit about your story and how, you came into being a capital W witch and coming into craft, right? And I thought that these books were so much possibly something that you would have wanted if they would have existed when you first got your start.
They really were. I mean, not that I didn't have a lot of great books to start out with. I mean, I have cupboards full of books, shelves full of books. And of course there was the Scott Cunningham books, and there was Dorothy Morrison and, Starhawk and, so there were a lot of great books. But yeah, I have to admit, I would have absolutely loved to have had this simple, all the basics in one place, not overwhelming, because, as a newbie witch, it can be a little overwhelming. There's so much stuff out there. And it can also be a little tricky to, because there's so much stuff out there, so many books, so much stuff on the internet. Sometimes it's sort of hard to find your focus. And, the thing about this book is you start with this and then you figure out what parts you want to, get more in depth with. And then you go buy all the rest of my books because that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, we need to make sure that we keep our authors writing because it's so important. You're spreading such important information. And, you know, writing is a spell. So we need to keep weaving those into the world. Um, tell us a little bit more for the people that are watching. They're like, okay, Dina, like, who is this that you're talking to, and what's the story here? Which I can't imagine they wouldn't know who you are because you've even we carried your deck. I know that you write articles in a lot of the Llewellyn, like the Spell a Day and this and all, and we carry
Yeah,
all those
and
obviously.
I have an ongoing column in Witches and Pagans magazine, which is a lot of fun to write. I've been doing
Oh,
that for a
cool!
really long time. Yeah, I'm everywhere.
You are.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I have been a practicing witch for 30 years. I'm 63, so I came to it in my mid 30s, I guess. Sort of late. Um, and I I started out on sort of a Wiccan path because my first high priestess was Wiccan, and that was what I was taught. And it's great stuff. It's probably the basis of my practice. These days I consider myself to be more of an eclectic witch,
Mhm.
hence the
The
Eclectic Witches
title,
Book of Shadows.
right?
um, it's because I've sort of expanded my practice over the years, and my group Blue Moon Circle, which, believe it or not, started in
Wow.
2004 and is still going, which is really unusual.
That
For these
is.
people who are not familiar with covens, that's a really long time for a group to be
That
together.
is.
It's seriously long. Yeah. And the same core founding members are still apart. We've had, people come, people go, but yeah, the same like 3 or 4 people who started it are still hanging in there. We haven't killed each other yet.
Amazing.
But the women that I practiced with did not come from a Wiccan kind of background. We had a couple of solitaries who basically, sorry, I'm listening to a cat doing something in the kitchen. I don't know what. It sounds like a paper bag might be involved. I don't know. We'll see if anything gets dragged in here. We'll find out. Yeah, I have 5 cats, so anytime I go live, it's a crapshoot.
You never know.
It's anything could happen, and people are like, "Where are the cats? Where are the cats?" I'm like, "They're sleeping on the bed. Sorry." Yeah.
That's
So
so
I'm also a crazy cat lady. Yeah. Which author, crazy cat lady? That pretty much sums it up.
I mean, I think that all goes together though. Danielle, my business partner, doesn't have as many cats as you, but I'm sure if she could, she would. She has two.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
I didn't plan to have this many cats, although before this bunch, I also had 5 cats. So apparently 5 is my number. Um, but I'm not getting any more. Just saying. Yeah,
it's not
5 is
up
good.
to you. Do you know about the cat distribution system?
I know that they find the people they're supposed to be
Yes.
with. However, I have 5 cats that eat 3 different foods in
Oh,
5 different
oh God.
rooms, and I have run out of rooms to feed them separately. So, no, really, this is it.
This is it.
We're done now. As long as that situation continues, the 5 is good. Besides which, really, being a slave to 5 cats is a lot of work.
It
I don't
is.
think I could do this.
So I think now, first, I just want to let those that are watching us live know that this is interactive. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, a practicing, steeped in a lot of practice, which,
Somebody mentioned that I had posted my cat food containers because the cats kept breaking in. That was just a cat. That was Diana, who is both the most adorable petal and
oh,
open them and get her whole body in there. And,
oh my
after
goodness.
all of these fancy pants things, I finally got a giant, like, Rubbermaid
Yeah.
container. And instead of having the 3 bags in 3 separate fancy containers, they're all in this giant Rubbermaid container. First day I brought it in, she looked in and went, I can't get in there, and ignored it.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah. And that was like $10. I'm like buying these fancy $50 containers. Yeah. So here's your plug, Rubbermaid. Please send me
That
money.
they should sponsor you. I mean, that's a lot of
They
work. Let's be real.
should. I am the poster child for Rubbermaid because, yeah, it was literally the only thing that thwarted my cat.
So, okay,
Uh,
in the
um,
whoa, these are going fast. In the Eclectic, which is Book of Shadows, love it. You mentioned that parsley and rosemary can both be used for protection and purification spells, but parsley isn't considered to be one of the more powerful herbs. So, if all I have is parsley, how would I know how much more to use to be equivalent in power to rosemary?
well, see, here's an interesting thing about witchcraft. If you believe it is a powerful herb, it is a powerful herb.
Mm-hmm.
Every witch is different. I use parsley for a lot of things, in part because I grow it out in my garden along with my rosemary. And I really I resonate with parsley. I put it in my salad, I put it in all my foods. And so for me personally, parsley is a powerful herb. One of the things that I tell people all the time in my books is that you have to go by what feels right for you, what resonates with you. If I say use parsley and rosemary and you don't like parsley, then just use rosemary. On the other hand, if you, like me, are a big parsley fan and you feel like that works for you, then go ahead and use it. There's no one right way. All of the herbs that I use in spells and things, those are a starting place. They're a suggestion. But if you have something you like better, or if you don't happen to have either parsley or rosemary in your house and you have something else that you feel will work for protection or purification, use that. I trust you.
I
Trust your instincts.
Right. And I think for people that are newly practicing, it's so important to learn how to trust your instincts. So what would you say to people that are newer on their path, that are afraid, quote unquote, I'm throwing up air quotes, to get it wrong in their work?
Well, and I get messages about that fairly often. People who are just starting out and they're afraid they're going to mess it up. And one of the things in general, and of course, there are always exceptions to every rule, but in general, the worst thing that is going to happen if you cast a benign spell, a spell that has good intentions, the worst thing that will happen if you get it wrong is nothing. The spell
Right.
will work. And then you try something different. You do it again. You try a different spell, or you try different herbs or stones or whatever it is. The only spells that I've ever known to go horribly wrong are ones that didn't have a really good intention behind them in the first place.
Right.
Sometimes you can convince yourself that your intention is good and it isn't. But if you're honest with yourself, or if you're only, and this is my advice, if you are only casting spells that affect you,
Mm-hmm.
only casting spells that are going to have an effect on you as opposed to other people, with the possible exception of healing spells, but that's like a whole nother topic.
Right.
Healing spells for other people with their permission, but only with their permission. I think if you're casting spells for yourself and it doesn't go right, it's not going to go wrong. It's just not going to work. And that happens way less often than people think. What does happen sometimes is that you don't get the result that you thought you wanted, or you don't get it in the way you thought you wanted it. So say you do a prosperity spell and you wanted to win the lottery. Well, let's face it, if that worked for witches, we'd all be rich. I would never have to write a book again.
Exactly.
I could just take this and go, this is my last book. There you go. Never mind. I won the lottery. But no, that's not the way prosperity spells generally work. You might win like a $40 scratch off. I hope so. That would be great. If you really need the $40. But prosperity may come to you in ways that you don't anticipate, like a gift from somebody that turns out to be just the thing you needed, or somebody who knows somebody who can connect you with a thing that will work for you down the road. So I think one of the things that, whether you're a newbie witch or whether you're feeling frustrated with your practice and you've been doing it for a while, you need to look at, what are you asking for? I have no problem with asking for prosperity. I ask for prosperity all the time. But I try and sort of leave it open-ended so that whatever way that's going to come to me, maybe you find a really good sale on the car you needed. Nobody necessarily gives you the car, but maybe you can find a way to make it affordable. So keep an open mind. That's another big part of witchcraft, is faith in yourself and an open mind.
I always call that when you're writing a spell or, asking for something, I always throw in the this or something better kicker.
Yep. This or something better is a great one. It can't hurt. I will sometimes add, in the best way possible. Meaning,
that's a good one.
Here you go, universe. I have opened the door for you to give me what it is I'm thinking of, or maybe something I haven't thought of, because there's only so many things that we can think of. So yeah, if I ask for something in the best way possible, then hopefully I'm leaving the door open for the gods to come up with something I might not have thought of, which they're gods. They're likely to come up with all sorts of stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we don't think of. I was laughing. Of course, you couldn't see me hysterically laughing when you said,
so mad about that.
You're going to have to watch the replay and you're going to be like, oh, this is who I was speaking with.
I will. I saw you for the first couple of minutes, so at least I have an idea in my head.
So I was laughing because I'm not going to say who it was me. I did it, but I'm not going to say who I was doing it to, because I just can't divulge that information. However, there was somebody in my life that's very near and dear to me that was getting married to somebody who I thought, this is not a good idea. And most people in their life was like, this is not a good idea. But I took it upon my witchy self to be like, let's try. Look at your face. I know. Let's try and make something happen here. And so I did it. I know. You're going to laugh at the outcome of this one. It's actually quite funny. So I didn't do the spell myself, because this is way before I was starting to really do bigger work, right? Which I would never do it now. And so I trudged my little tushy down to Enchantments in the city, and I got myself a candle, and I said, I want this person to not get married. And then I gave it to the person and didn't tell them, look at your face, what it was for.
Oh.
Okay. Guess what happened?
So what happened?
Well, they didn't get married. But
did something horrible happen?
No. They got married. They just never legally got married. So they never, of course, right? So they never sent in any of the government papers.
Oh dear.
So you see what we were talking about.
Which is why you don't mess with other people's lives.
Other people's
This
stuff.
is,
So,
yeah,
lesson learned. Danielle's laughing because
yeah.
Danielle knows
Well, and
exactly what I'm talking
if
about.
it makes you feel any better, I also made a newbie witch mistake back in the early days. And this is one of the reasons why I always say steer clear of love spells. Do a spell to open yourself to love. Do a spell to like bring any kind of love into your life in a positive fashion. Steer clear of any love spell, especially one that names a person, that is aimed at a person, because then you're interfering with free will,
Right.
and the God will slap you down so
Oh, yeah.
hard. Because yes, as a newbie witch, I confess, I was in a on again, off again relationship, and when we got on again for the last time, I thought, this is the guy. He's supposed to be with me. I am going to cast a love spell to make sure that he stays this time. Well, I'm pretty sure can imagine what happened. 2 months later, I'm like, oh crap. No, I was wrong. He's horrible. He's a crazy person.
Right.
I want him to leave. And he would not leave. A
Oh,
year I spent doing everything that I could do to get him out. I mean, we broke up, but he was still in my life.
God.
He was like,
Gosh.
every time he thought about me, I could feel him thinking about me. He actually tried to like sue me for money. It was insane. And the gods wanted to make sure that I learned my lesson, and I tried every banishing, unbinding, everything I could think of. Basically, I had to grovel. I had to do a spell where I said, I'm so sorry. I know I really screwed up. I just want to let this go. Pretty please. And then it was okay. But never, ever, 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 ever do a spell on somebody else to try and influence their life, because the gods don't like that, and they will kick your little hiney.
It was when the result of that happened, I laughed so hard at the result. I'm like, this is actually like well played, you guys.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I could not, I was upset, but I couldn't be upset with the gods, because as I realized the lesson, I was like, oh yeah, I see what I did. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Oh man. But yeah, it was a very interesting and unpleasant learning experience. And so, every book I write, I'm like, don't do love spells. I'm telling you, don't do love spells. And there are reasonably safe and harmless ways to approach asking for more love in your life, but never do anything on another person. And the other thing that I say is, say you were madly in love with somebody, and a year into the relationship, you discovered that they had cast a love spell on you. How would you feel? I mean, would you think, do I really love this person, or do I only think I love them because they cast this spell on me? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be manipulated in any way. And, for better or for worse, even what you would consider to be a positive spell, like a healing spell, I always tell people, don't do a healing spell on somebody else without their permission, because sometimes either people need to be sick to learn some sort of lesson from that process. And I can say this speaking as somebody who's been chronically ill for many thousands of years, possibly many lifetimes, I don't know. But also, there are people who would not want a witch to be doing a spell on them, no matter how positive and beneficial that is. And, I've had friends who've had, cancer and things like that. And I've said, do you mind if I add you to my prayers? And they say, no, we'll take all the prayers we can get. And in that case, I do it, but I won't do it without permission,
Right.
because I wouldn't want somebody to do that for me, you know. And I also pretty much am like, yeah, you have good vibes to send to me. I don't care what your
Right.
particular path is. If it's coming from a good place, you go ahead and do it. But I do appreciate being asked first.
Yeah. I have had people say, I'll pray for you. And I go, please don't do that.
Right,
Please don't
exactly.
do that. I'm good. I don't need your particular right now. I'm
Well,
good.
and that comes back to that intention
Yeah.
thing. Their intention is not to pray for you to be as happy and healthy as you are. They're praying for you to change to be
Right.
the way they think you should be. And no, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
cool. I'm good.
I'm
You know, it's like,
perfectly good.
yeah,
Thank you so
no,
much.
I'm a-okay. Look, I have
Yes,
books.
we
Yeah,
have
it's
so many
like
books.
books and
We
cats. Books, cats, chocolate, wine. I'm golden.
we actually created a new sticker that says "Real witches read books," and it has like a little bookshelf,
I
and it's
love that.
so cute because it's true.
I
Like,
need a t-shirt that says that. You should make t-shirts.
all right, Danny, we gotta get up on the t-shirts for sure.
Just saying.
So I don't know. It's a good thought. We haven't done a t-shirt in a very long time. What I really
And
like
bookmarks. I'm a bookmark freak. Make
we
bookmarks.
love all of your bookmarks. So for you guys that are watching, we put one of your bookmarks in every single one of the books that we have on our shelves, has one of your bookmarks as well as your signature and your signed book plate.
Isn't
So
it?
they're
You get your
all.
bookmarks. Yeah, Llewellyn made these for me. They have my scary picture on the
No,
back.
it's not
Um,
scary.
well,
It's so
that's because
cute.
it's like 8 years
But
old.
look at your
You'll
cute. I
notice
didn't
that
even notice
the
that you
hair
had
has a little more twinkle.
a little cat there in your picture.
Yeah, that is Magic the Cat, Queen of the Universe. She was my familiar. The one and only cat I've ever had that was a familiar.
Oh,
Unfortunately, I lost her. Good Lord, 6 years ago, as of the 3rd of January.
oh.
Yeah, she was magic. You got to be careful what you name cats. Yeah,
That's
she
true.
would come in when my group and I would be doing ritual in my living room because I live in upstate New York, as you
Yes.
know. And sometimes it's not nice enough to be outside to do your rituals. You know, outside is great if it's not raining, snowing, mosquitoing, whatever. But
Something.
yeah, we would set up our round altar table in the middle of the room and sit around it. She would walk into the room, walk around the table, greet everyone, always walking around clockwise, of course.
Of
And
course.
then, when she was ready for us to start, she would either sit under the altar or behind me on the couch. And when we were done, she would walk around, walk out of the room, and we'd be like, okay, guess we're done now. Yeah.
So the question is, it looks like you're holding a labradorite sphere on your bookmark. Is that a on your bookmark? Are you holding a labradorite sphere?
Actually, that is it's not labradorite. What is? Oh, it's fluorite.
Ooh.
It's fluorite. Yeah. Oh, it is the most beautiful. I actually found it at PantheaCon, which was this amazing pagan convention that used to be held in San Jose every February, and I went out there 4 or 5 times maybe. And I happened to find that sphere at somebody's booth in the buy all the things room. And they owned a shop that carried my books.
Oh,
So we made a swap. I swapped them
beautiful.
some signed books and got this incredible, really large, beautiful.
Yeah.
I could go grab it if you want. And then, funny story, I was afraid to put it in my suitcase traveling on the way home because I was afraid it
Yeah.
would get broken or something. So I had a backpack and I, wrapped it up, put it in my backpack. And as I went through the security, I got pulled
Of course.
aside because apparently it just showed up as this big void. And
Yes.
the guy who pulled me aside said, "Do you want to tell me what this is?" And I said, yeah, it's a big rock. And he said, lady, why do you have a big rock in your knapsack? And I said, because I just came back from a pagan convention. And then he just went, lady, get back in line. Next time, put it in your suitcase.
That's
But yeah,
great.
no, I almost got arrested because of that beautiful sphere. However, it is, still on my altar, and I love it very much. So there you go.
I mean, fluorite is an incredible stone for
I have
aligning to your
so much
purpose. So,
fluorite.
yeah.
Fluorite is one of, I mean, although labradorite is also one of my addictions. Um, I guess because I have this fancy phone, and I'm not on my laptop, I can actually carry
You
you
can. We can go
around.
around. We can take a
I hadn't
field
even
trip.
thought about that. So let's see. All right. So over here, I have a cabinet
Oh, pretty.
full of all sorts of beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful things, including, okay, let's see. Here's of course, it's not very bright over there. So I will bring this one back over, uh, put myself back on my little stand. So this is one of my favorite fluorites. Look how beautiful
Oh,
that
it's a
is.
beautiful
That is
cubic fluorite.
yeah, and I not only use my crystals and stones with my witchcraft work a lot, but I also do energy healing,
Mm.
and I use them with the energy healing work. And in fact, fluorite is a fabulous, fabulous healing stone. If you are feeling like you need some peace, some healing, get yourself a piece of fluorite. Fluoride's, I'm just
It,
gonna put it in my head.
does that
It's
fluorite
just,
color? Does that fluorite color change? Do you know where it's from?
um, I don't know where it's from. It's this particular one is a very sort of greeny fluorite, which a lot of them are sort of
Mm.
blue. And I mean that big sphere that we saw in the picture has blues and purples and greens and clear.
Mm.
I mean, that was why I fell in love with it. It was just so
Beautiful.
gorgeous. Yeah, I admit it. I'm kind of a crystal
Same.
junkie. I have a problem. I'm willing to admit it. I have a little bit of a crystal addiction. And so yeah, I have a lot of rocks. I'm a Taurus. It's an earth
Yes.
sign. So I'm going to, yeah, that little jostle, that was a little bit. A
Well,
little
let's
bit. You want to
see.
come say hi?
Let's see who you
Okay.
got there.
So
Oh,
this is
hi.
Miss Deborah. Do you want to
Oh,
say hi? She's
what
like,
a
no, Mama, no flash
cute.
photography.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
How
yeah.
cute.
Yes, that's
Lots of crystal addicts also on on the live right now. So when when people ask me, the only way I can ask you this question is to give you my answer. So when people ask me like what type of witch or what my practice looks like, I can say that, you know, eclectic like you. I always say that I practice my witchcraft like I cook, whatever is sort of in the cupboards goes into the pot. But really, one of my first loves and strongest loves are stones and crystals. So I also do,
I have no idea what you're talking about. Well,
so
I have always been drawn to herbs. One of the things people say to me, when they ask me questions about being a witch, they ask, um, when did you become a witch? And the answer to that is really, I was apparently
yeah.
always a witch. I just didn't find out there was a name for it until I was in my 30s and went to my first circle and was like, oh, hello. But yeah, I've always been drawn to rocks, even like, tumbled rocks from the
Yeah.
beach, or just rocks. I have rocks in bowls all over my house that have come from, like my travels to California, where some of my family is now. And, any place I go, I pick up a rock and I bring it home with me to bring sort of that energy home.
Yeah.
But I've also always loved to garden and to, especially herbs, really love herbs, except the ones I'm allergic to, but that's a whole other thing.
Yes, yarrow.
And
Was it yarrow?
yarrow, yeah, which is one of the most
Yeah.
powerful witchy herbs there is. But yeah, I found out the hard way. Yarrow is not my friend. I was walking through a meadow, a beautiful meadow. This was long before I knew I was a witch. I was just at some lesbian friend's wedding, as one does in a meadow.
Yes.
And I forget what was wrong with me, but somebody said, "Oh, yarrow is great for that. Look, the meadow's full of it. You should go pick it." And so I'm walking around and I'm picking this beautiful yarrow, and there was like acres of it. So it's not like I was stealing it. And suddenly my hands started itching, and I looked down and I had
Ooh.
welts. I mean, like giant blisters. And all I could think was, well, thank God I didn't make a tea out of that like I was planning to. And so, again, one of the things that I mentioned in my books is herbs are wonderful tools, and most of them are very benign for most people.
Mm-hmm.
If you are going to ingest anything, if you are going to put it in food or make a tea out of it or even throw it in a bath, make sure you do not have a sensitivity to that herb, because ragweed's an herb, and I'm telling you, it is my friend. So,
Exactly.
So yes, yeah, I mean, most herbs are pretty benign. I don't know that I've ever met anybody who was allergic to, say, rosemary. However, lavender, which is one of the most commonly used herbs, my stepdaughter, very allergic to it. We found out because she couldn't sleep one night when she was at my house, and I gave her a nice little pillow full of lavender, stuck it under her, in the bed. And the next morning, her eyes were like all swollen shut, and she was like snuffly. And we went, well, okay, no lavender for you.
Yeah, we know some people that are allergic to lavender. It's really, you have to be so careful.
Yeah, so that is one of the things that I always say to people is, you're probably okay if you're going to, put it in a little spell bag. If you're not going to put it near your face or under your pillow or whatever. However, anything you are going to take internally, especially, or use on your skin, test it out a little bit first if you don't know for sure you're okay with it. Because especially if you are a person who is prone to allergies, which, yay, I am, you would think as a nature worshiping, witch that nature would worship me back. Not so much, really.
Not so much,
No.
giving you little lands of allergies there.
Oh, no. Yeah, no. I live in a beautiful little country farmhouse surrounded by fields, and in all the fields there are so many things I'm allergic to. I spend, sadly, most of my time with my windows closed because I can't breathe if I open my windows. It's pathetic.
Where in upstate New York are you?
I am outside of a town called Oneonta, which is about half an hour from Cooperstown, if people aren't, are familiar with Cooperstown. And I am in the boonies. I'm, probably 7 miles outside of town, thereabouts. And, it's a wonderful location because it is, quiet and filled with fields, when the hunters aren't, shooting off their guns. I have a huge garden in my backyard, which was one of the things when I went looking for a house, I was like, must have huge space for a garden, which, and I actually have a space that's a circle out behind my barn. That's a traditional 9-foot circle that we built out of stone, which is really cool. It comes with its trials and tribulations as well.
Certainly does.
Nothing is perfect in life.
That is certainly true. So you had suggested for us to, I think, do a spell together, correct? We were,
Yeah, I thought we could do the calming and grounding spell, because who couldn't use some calming and grounding? And of course, I put everything together and forgot to grab my candle. But that's okay, because I can fix that.
yeah.
And in fact, what we're going to do, and this is something that if you are in a situation where you cannot use a candle, where it is, say you have cats walking all over your stuff and it's not safe, or if you're in a hotel room, or if you live in a dorm or
Right.
someplace else, these little battery powered candles are so freaking cool. And,
Clever.
yeah, that's, look, instant
I
candle.
love
And,
it.
this one actually changes color, which is kind of cool. So look, it's magic.
That's magical.
So yeah, rather than messing with, flames in the middle of an Instagram live, we're just going to use this cool little candle. So yeah, this is a really simple spell. I wanted to pick something that, people would see how simple it is to do. And, the description in the book, right here, page 174, in case you're following along at home. So we've got some lavender, because I am not allergic to lavender, thank God, because I love lavender. Oh, lavender
So
is just a
good.
wonderful thing. And the thing about herbs is you can use dried herbs, you can use fresh herbs if you happen to be lucky enough to have some fresh lavender. I use dried herbs for most of my spells, especially anything that I'm going to want to, say, put in a sachet and keep for a while, because the fresh ones don't hold up as well. We have a little rose quartz. Rose quartz is a fabulous stone. If you can only have like 5 stones, rose quartz is probably one of the ones you want. This one is I mean, the lighting in here is not great, but it's a pale pink. You see them brighter, you see them lighter. The very dark pink ones are probably dyed. That doesn't mean
Mm.
you can't use them. They're still really pretty. I made jewelry for about 30 years, and I would often use the ones that were dyed because they're prettier. But if you have a light pink one, that you want to use for your spellcrafting, that's fine. This is a tumbled stone. You can also use one that's, in a crystal form. Again, no right way, no wrong way. Do whatever you want. I have a little bowl of water, and okay, I should hold it up where you can see it. Little
Okay.
pottery bowl.
Beautiful.
Um, and because it's got water in it, I have a little cloth because I want to get wet, just a little bit wet. And I have a little,
Pretty.
just sort of, a pretty bag with stars on it because I like the stars. And, again, this is just the way that I wrote this. You don't have to do it exactly the way it says. In the book, it says to start by using some sort of a cleansing herb, which, we're not going to bother with right now. Whatever it is, you could have like soothing ocean sounds or background music if you want to, again, work on the goal of calming and grounding. And the first thing you want to do when you do any spell is focus on that goal. Focus on what it is you want. In this case, we want calm and grounding. So you can turn on your quiet music if you're going to do it. You can use, some sort of, purifying herb or incense. And then what I like to do with this is to cleanse my hands with water. Basically, what you're doing is you're symbolically washing away your cares and stresses of the world.
Oh, I
So
love
you're just
that.
going to, yeah, so you're just going to dip your hands in the water. I mean, if you want, you can actually sort of splash it over yourself. I'm not going to get that carried away. I have a little bowl. If you want to be able to dip your whole hands into it, you can use a bigger bowl. And then just when you've, really gotten the feeling that you've drained off some of that stuff and washed it away, you can dry your hands and then move on to the next part of the spell, which is to pick up your lavender and just smell it. You can breathe it in, you can run your fingers through it, just, whatever it takes for you to feel like you're absorbing that energy. Lavender is one of the best calming herbs. It's not the only one. There's also chamomile, which is a great calming herb. There's a few different ones. This is my favorite for calming spells, peace spells, anything like that. Also great for sleep spells.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to, if you want to, you can put some into your little bag. So we're going to do that. We're going to put a little bit of lavender into the bag, because then you can keep this and use it for later. And you're going to take your rose quartz, and you can do this, again, any way you want. I like to hold it in my hand and sort of connect with that calming energy, feel myself, sort of coming down a little bit, feeling a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more calm. If you want, you can hold it up to your chakra points, crown of your head, your third eye, your throat, your heart, solar plexus, navel, and your base. And feel it pulling out all of that sort of frantic energy we all carry with us, especially if you've been watching the news. And then you can put or like today there's a storm. I get agitated by storms. I sort of tune into that energy. And so this is a good spell for me to do while there's a storm outside, because it'll sort of help me to calm down. So then you can put your stone in with your lavender, and then you're going to light your candle and say the spell. See, look, magically lit the candle. And then you're going to say the spell while holding the bag in your hand or lap. Do you want to say it with me?
I would love to. I have it right here. Okay.
All right. I wash away my cares and worry. No more rushing. No more
hurry. With
these herbs and with this stone, I soak up calm down to the bone. Grounded now and breathing deep. This sense of peace I still will keep. Even in the midst of strife, calm and grounded for my life. So mote it be. And then you can just sort of sit with it for as long as feels right. And you can, when you're done with it, you can, put it on your altar or tuck it under your pillow or in a drawer. I know not everybody can leave things out where other people can see them, but then you can just pull it out the next time, and you don't even have to start from the beginning. The next time you feel like you need a little calming or de-stressing, you've already got this put together, and you can just do the spell itself.
I love that. That was so you can see me following along, but I have lavender and the rose quartz. So I was doing it with you as you were going along. And it's such a beautiful spell. Simple, but I felt that rose quartz really connecting. And I think the words really do activate it. This spell is in the little book of Witchcraft for Doberdale, the the little guy, the small but mighty. There's wonderful spells in here and accessible, to be able to have the framework of these spells. And like you said, if you can't work with lavender, you could work with another herb like chamomile. If you don't have rose quartz, you can use an amethyst. You can use a sodalite. You could use a black tourmaline. There's smoky quartz. There's so many ways to work with what you have.
Oh, yeah. And, I think as a witch, it's a good idea to be flexible. You don't always have the exact things that were in it's sort of like cooking.
Yeah.
If a recipe calls for, something that you don't have, you just find something that's close to it or that you like better.
Right.
For instance, I hate cilantro. I'm one of those people, 50% of the
Yes.
population, it tastes either soapy or bitter. So anytime a recipe calls for cilantro, I substitute parsley, which, as we all know, I really
You
like.
love. Right.
So, but you can do that with witchcraft as well.
I think it's important to give yourself that allowance and the sense of play and curiosity to work with those herbs, those crystals, and those other tools that you connect with. But I think, for the little book of witchcraft, which is where this spell was, even if you have been practicing for some time, I promise you there is information in here, and just the way that you write it, it just feels like a homecoming, or at least it felt like I was talking to a friend. And so it was really beautiful to read.
Well, I tried when I was writing it to make sure that it was not just good for the new witches.
Mm-hmm.
The new witches definitely need books like this. But those of us who've been practicing for, quite some time, I'm always happy to find a book that has interesting spells in it, or, like some of the activities that I came up with in this, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Now that I've written it, I'm actually, going to do that. My coven is full of crafty witches, so we're always doing little
Mm-hmm.
activities or little crafts, or, working our magic into, something that we can then have later. And I think, it's good to experiment.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to try different things. I mean, yes, start with this and then sort of go, well, that gives me an idea of my own. Maybe if I took these other couple of things, I could do this with them.
Right.
And by all means, the thing about a witchcraft practice that appeals to me so much is that it is probably the most individual form of spiritual practice that I've seen. And I was brought up Jewish. I'm still Jewish. Just ask the Nazis. Once you're a Jew, you're
Yes,
always a Jew.
that is true.
Um, and I'm very proud of my Jewish heritage, but the religious part didn't resonate with me. And I hung out with the Unitarians for a while, and I, studied Buddhism for a pretty long time until I came to witchcraft. And I
Yes.
see a cat. Oh no, cat. They're everywhere. But yeah, for me, witchcraft gives us the best opportunity to do it the way it suits us. There aren't a lot of rules. I
Right.
mean, other than harm none, which I'm a big fan of, I realize that not everybody follows that one, and that's up to you. But for me, it's important to do harm none. And I try and be mindful of free will and things like that.
Right.
Other than that, you can mold your own witchcraft path to suit you. If you're a cook person, if you spend a lot of time in the kitchen, you can do a lot of kitchen witchery. If you're a person who's drawn to growing things, you can put in some garden witchery. If you are someone who is drawn to a particular pantheon of gods, then by all means follow that pantheon. If not, keep your ears and mind open to see if some god comes and taps you on the shoulder and goes,
Right.
yeah, there are so many different ways to practice, and no two witches are exactly the same, and I think that's
Me
wonderful.
too. I think that's so beautiful. Beth, you can purchase the Little Book of Witchcraft through us, the Apothecary. We do have signed copies of both Little Book of Witchcraft as well as the Eclectic, which is Book of Shadows, which is great because there's tons of information in here. And it's also interactive in that you are meant to write and to develop your
See,
own.
there's spots.
There are, your notes and your interactions with the different, crystals and herbs and spells and magic
And
as you
there's
work
a
through.
companion book coming out in
I
March for that. I'm very
Yes,
excited.
we saw that. I think we actually have that on pre-order. So don't worry. We will be bringing that in as well as your new deck as well. I'm sure we can have you back on when those release. So exciting. I want to thank you so much for spending this evening. I don't know if it's storming by you, but it is absolutely brutal down by down where we are
Yeah, we've
downstate.
got torrential rains following, the 8 inches of snow we
Yeah.
got on Sunday into Monday. So now things are melting and they're talking about flooding,
Yeah.
and I have like chunks of ice
Oh
falling off the roof with the
no.
clatter, and yeah, it's not pleasant. No,
No.
not pleasant at all. Although, so far so good. They were calling for high winds, and I
Yes.
think that's going to start a little bit later. And we didn't actually get that for the first one. And they're saying that this weekend we're getting storm number
Oh
3.
no.
So can I just say, no, thank you. No, thank you very much. Nature, that's lovely. It's great you're like hanging out with us, but maybe just do the calming spell in this
Yes.
book, Mother
We need some more
Nature.
calming spells.
Here,
We need some more
here,
calming spells.
you can have my little bag.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh, hello. Yeah, sorry, we just got flashed by another cat.
Oh
This is
no.
the big.
Let's see.
He's like, no, Mama, I'm not going to cooperate. Now, if I don't want them on camera, they're like right here in
Of
front of
course.
me. Yes, if I do want to show them off, they're like, cats.
So thank you so much for spending time with us tonight. It's been an absolute joy to get to talk to you. And that spell was, I think, just what so many of us needed amidst all the crazy that's been going on these days,
That's
for sure.
That's why I picked that one. I figured, not everybody needs a healing spell, not everybody needs a love spell, but oh my goodness, we all need some, peace and a little bit of, chill.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I hope that people got something out of it.
Absolutely.
And that they get something out of the book, that they find something in here that resonates with them, because that's why I write them. I write them because I want to give, I want to share my passion for this path with other people and help them find their own best way to walk it.
Well, I think you're absolutely delivering with that because there is so much information and so much wonderful work that's in here, and we're so excited to see what more is released that we can learn from you. And again, thank you so much, and we will be talking to you soon. Have such a good night, and we'll talk soon. Good
Thank you so
night.
much for having me.
Oh, it's
Good night,
my
everyone.
pleasure. Good night.